So I'll call the Tuesday, October 12th, 2021 regular meeting of council to order. First item on the agenda is the adoption under 2.1, being October 12, 2021, to be adopted as presented. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean, any additions? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Much in the ways of minutes coming towards you this evening. 3.1, adoption of the September 28th, 2021 regular meeting minutes be adopted. Councillor G, Councillor Pearson, any errors or omissions arising? All in favor? It's carried. 3.2, adoption of the minutes of the previous special meeting of council being October 6, 2021. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, any errors or omissions arising? All in favor? It's carried. And 3.3, adoption of the minutes of the previous committee of the whole meeting being October 6, 2021. Councillor Pearson, Councillor G, any errors or omissions arising? All in favor? It's carried. We do have some unfinished business under 5.1. There are a couple recommendations here, and that's to do with the amendments to the Valemount Industrial Park Articles of Incorporation. Councillor MacLean.
Yeah, I'm recused because I'm co-owner of a company that does business with the Valemount Community Forest.
Very good. First recommendation is procedural, that the motion to amend the Valemount Industrial Park Articles of Incorporation, which was tabled at the September 28th regular council meeting, be taken from the table. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, any questions, discussion around procedure? All in favor? It's carried. Second recommendation, that Section 14.1 of the Valemount Industrial Park Articles of Incorporation and Section 14.1.3 of the Valemount Community Forest Articles of Incorporation be amended to reflect the following composition of the company's Board of Directors. 1 elected councillor from the Village of Valemount, 1 staff member of the Village of Valemount, and the remaining 5 members made up of local community with business, financial, and other appropriate skill sets identified by the company and the Village of Valemount from time to time, representative from business and or representatives from organization partners with the company. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, discussion. I found the committee of the whole extraordinary in terms of discussion, so I'm really happy you tabled that, gave us that opportunity. Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. And the third recommendation, that the articles be forwarded to the Inspector of Municipalities for approval. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, again, procedural, any discussion around that? All in favor? It's carried. And 5.2, I'm guessing Councillor MacLean is staying out for 5.2 as well. 5.2, amendment of Policy 81, Board Appointments to Village-Owned Companies. First recommendation here, that the motion to approve Policy 81 as amended, which was tabled at the September 28th regular council meeting, be taken from the table. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, discussion on procedure. All in favor? It's carried. And 2, that amended Policy 81 be approved as presented. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, any discussion arising? Councillor Blanchette.
So we did receive quite a bit of correspondence from community forest members, so I just wanted them to know that I've read it all. I agree with some and have some issues with other points, that's fine. But I just wanted to remind them that policies can be amended at any time. So if they wish to have the meeting that the president was talking about in her letter, then they can have that meeting, and then we can readdress this another time. So I don't want them to feel like this is the be-all and end-all of everything. She had mentioned about having a community discussion. So, I mean, and they're free to do that. If that's what they want to do, then they can do that, and then they can come back to us at another time. So I just wanted to put that out there as another avenue that if they so choose, they can look at.
Absolutely, policies can be amended
Yeah.
in one meeting. Articles, not so much. Councillor Pearson.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Blanchette. The correspondence from not only members of the board, but people in the community. It's for me, it's disappointing that 8 months into this process, we're getting that feedback now. But I think, as you said, this is something we move forward with. We have the opportunity to look at it. There's been some great suggestions made, and I mean, I'm hoping that the entire group can work together and not make this an adversarial situation. I mean, we're all hugely proud of what they've done, but this is just not only for this situation, but future situations that we're creating this policy, so.
Thank you, Councillor. Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Let me bring Councillor MacLean back in, please. So you're aware, Councillor, we have moved and carried that the articles be sent to the Inspector of Municipalities for approval, and that Policy 81 under 5.2 has been approved as presented with the amendments. 6.1, Robson Valley Community Services has a fee waive request and recommendation. Oh, look at this, hands up.
Yes. I think I would like to step out as I'm chair of RVCS.
Yes,
I'm an employee of RVCS.
thank you so much. So 6.1, Robson Valley Community Services with their fee waive request. And then there is a recommendation here that the community hall rental fees for the RVCS food literacy program be waived for a maximum of 2 days, 10 hours per month. Not 10 hours per day, 2 days, 10 hours, right? Per month for the next 12 months, subject to compliance with village bylaws and policies, including the provision of a communicable disease mitigation plan, COVID-19 operating procedures. What's council's wish? Councillor MacLean?
So move.
So move, seconded by Councillor Pearson. Discussion? Councillor Pearson.
Just looking for clarification on that we are just dealing with the rental fees, not the associated COVID cleaning charges that are incurred every time the building is used.
Mr. Administrator?
That would be correct. It would just be for the actual rental fee, not for the cleaning costs. The cleaning costs would be above and beyond, and it is something that is required due to COVID-19.
Okay. Just wanted that clear. Thanks.
You have clarification?
I do.
Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. So you're aware, council voted to waive the rental fees. However, RVCS is still responsible to submit a communicable disease mitigation plan, and they'll be responsible for janitorial as well.
Perfect, thank you.
6.2, Valemount Area Recreation Development Association Board Appointment for 2021-22. Let's put it on the table. Councillor Blanchette?
Do you still wish to sit on that board? Okay, then I'll move that you be re-signed up to that board.
Seconder. Councillor Pearson, discussion? Oh, tons of fun over there. Tons.
Good.
It's a pretty diverse group. Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried.
Thank you.
Good timing. I think their AGM is tomorrow.
Oh, perfect, okay.
Anything out of the reading file folks would like to bring to the forefront? I would just like to highlight some of the, from September, RDFFG, really highlighting the board's well wishes and good thoughts to our healthcare workers. And it was unanimously supported that a letter be sent to the Northern Health Authority and to Minister Dix, notifying them of our thanks. And then each of the healthcare providers throughout Mackenzie, McBride, and Valemount as well. Anything else? Moving on, administrative reports. 8.1, accounts payable, September 21. That the report be received. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, discussion. All in favor of receipt? It's carried. We do have a request from staff under 8.2 for an appointment of signing authority, and a recommendation here that Wayne Robinson be removed as the signing authority for the Village of Valemount, and that Suzanne Bludoff be assigned as signing authority for the village. Councillor G, Councillor MacLean, any discussion? I think that's great signing authority to have when she's your accounts payable. All in favor? It's carried. 8.3, we have a couple of recommendations here for the geothermal district heating project grant applications. First recommendation that staff be directed to apply to the Jobs and Growth Fund in Western Canada for up to a maximum amount of $1,066,800. Councillor Pearson, Councillor G, any discussion?
Love the round number.
Yeah, right down to the surprise. I'm surprised there's no sense in there, yeah.
Well, just leave that one right alone, won't we?
Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. And second recommendation that staff be directed to apply to the Canada Community Revitalization Fund in Western Canada for a maximum of $1,066,800. Councillor G, Councillor Pearson, discussion. Generalized round numbers again, but down to the penny, I'm sure. All in favor? It's carried. We do have under 8.4 proposed development permit with a variance at 1160 Fifth Avenue. The recommendation here that development permit number 2103 and development variance permit 2102 for 1160 Fifth Avenue, legally described as parcel A, being consolidation of lots 3 and 4, district lot 9778, Caribou District Plan PGP 35390, proposing the construction of an addition to the existing building with a variance to reduce the rear setback to 0.75 meters, be approved. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, any discussion for approval? All in favor? It's carried. Nothing under new business. Does anybody have a notice of motion to bring forward?
I do, Your Worship. I'd like to have a notice of motion. I don't really know how to word it, but what I'd like is for us to work together on getting some clear commitment for council and for staff on moving forward for our housing support. How does council wish to support our housing committee as far as our strategic priorities go? So can I get staff to help me word my motion?
Well, I think
Or how does that?
we've obtained the spirit of the motion.
Okay.
Probably at next meeting, between now and next meeting, if there's a seconder. Councillor Pearson, staff can help you with a proper resolution from there, but this is just strictly a notice.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
One of the, I'll open it up for discussion. One of the things that we could do, Councillor Blanchette, is revisit our strategic priorities, if you feel that might be necessary for the last year of this term, and to maybe set up a committee of the whole, so that we can have some pretty open and robust conversation around that.
I think that would be a good idea, because housing, I mean, I know that village municipalities aren't supposed to be involved with housing, and we've all heard it before, but we've been entrenched now in housing for a while. Previous council felt that it was important to have that committee, which we have kept. And I think that we need to, things have tweaked a bit and changed, so maybe a sit down with everybody would be a good idea.
Further discussion on the notice? Do you got the spirit of the resolution?
I honestly do not.
Okay, so there's a notice of motion on the floor. I'll paraphrase if you want me to.
Okay.
That council revisit strategic priorities in terms of land use and development support, and revisit that strategic priority. Is that what I'm hearing?
You said it much clearly than I did.
Good?
Thank you.
All right. Further discussion on the motion? On the notice, sorry, of motion. All in favor? It's carried. Council reports. Councillor MacLean, what have you been up to?
Well, I only had two things this time. On Tuesday, October the 5th, I attended a Valemount Community Forest meeting to meet the new mill manager. Welcome to Steve Miller, who has come to Valemount from Prince George to manage the community forest new sawmill. This afternoon, I and most of the rest of council participated in a Zoom meeting with Susan Stanford, Assistant Deputy Minister of Citizen Services Connectivity Division for the British Columbia Government, and Howard Randall, Executive Director for Network BC, as a follow-up to Council's Union of BC Municipalities ministerial meetings, where we reiterated our concerns that Valemount still does not have access to recommended broadband speeds, and most of the highway between here and Jasper still does not have access to cell service.
Two important things you had on your ledger there. Awesome.
Thank you.
I haven't met Steve yet. He was supposed to be coming back today, and I never got the time to go out. Councillor Blanchette.
So the same as Councillor MacLean, only on the 6th, I had a Community Forest and Village Committee of the Whole meeting, which, to reiterate, was quite good. Learned a lot, and hopefully everybody understands now where everybody else is coming from, because I know I do. So that was it.
Okay.
Yep.
Councillor G.
Mine was just the committee of the whole meeting, special council meeting that we attended. Not just. Just. It was a good one.
October 5th, Tourism Valemount meeting. October 6th as well, the special meeting of council and committee of the whole, which again was a very good discussion. A lot of points were raised on both sides of that one. And then again, earlier today with the Ministry of Citizen Services in discussion on connectivity.
Never a couple of weeks without connectivity.
I tell you.
September 30th, had a connectivity interview with Deloitte. They're doing a contract on the Columbia Basin Broadband Benefit Study. October 1st, I took in the BC Education COVID update. Particularly of note there is the K-12 mandate for masks. October 4th, had a meet and greet with Canadian Rangers Command, Lieutenant Colonel Waugh and Chief Warrant Officer Schultz and their team, along with our local patrol leaders. October 5th, had a community ski hill meeting with Sim First Nation and BC Mountain Resorts Branch. October 6th, had a Southeast BC Connectivity Committee meeting. Later that day, took in the federal government announcement regarding air, rail travel and full vaccination requirements by October 30th. So that means if you're departing from any Canadian airport, be it regionally or internationally, you're to be fully vaccinated. And same goes with rail travel for VIA and the Rocky Mountain Air. I imagine any sort of sub-region trackage in Quebec and Ontario. A special meeting at council on the 6th. October 7th, we almost had a meeting with TELUS regarding the emergency backup power for cell towers during extended outages. And while that didn't come to fruition, we did use old school technology in first quarter. By first quarter 2022, it's our understanding that TELUS will meet our needs and exceed it. October the 8th, had a meeting with Northern Health Authority regarding professional housing. Committed nothing, but just let them know that there was a $750,000 announcement from the Ministry of Health, specifically for housing in the north for health professionals. They had heard about the announcement, but with all things announced, very little details have followed. So we're still waiting to get some sort of, how do we apply for that? Took in today's briefing with Dr. Henry and Minister Dix. It's not looking good in the north. 55 patients have been transferred out of the Northern Health Authority. 43 of those were COVID related and 42 were unvaxxed. So I'm really reaching out to all of council and your social networks to ensure that science prevails and those that are able to get a vaccine, that's one of the best ideas right now. And then I, again, with Councillors Pearson and MacLean and Blanchette, had a UBCM follow-up with Citizen Services today. And then in the last couple of weeks, I've also dedicated some time to writing UBCM follow-up emails and thank you cards. Motion to receive. Councillor Pearson and Councillor Blanchette. Questions for the reports? Councillor Pearson.
Yeah, just wondering if there's any news on the community ski hill after that meeting.
Some of the permits have been realized. Mountain Resorts branch is in receipt of an agreement between the Phidias Group and the Valemount Ski Society for use of land within the tenure. And there'll be a follow-up here in probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. Further questions, comments? It's looking good for the community ski hill.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All in favor of receipt? It's carried. We have time for public comment this evening under 14.1. Public comments on items considered by council as part of the approved agenda. Any public comments this evening? Oh, now you're going to make me read a preamble. Just before you go, Mr. Lewis, questions and comments?
I haven't been sick or told to quarantine.
Have you been outside of the country?
Or I haven't been outside the country, I promise.
You know the drill regarding items on the agenda, which are not normally dealt with by village staff, shall be addressed through myself and answers given likewise. Debates are not needed at this time. No commitments shall be made by council in replying to a question. Bylaws, temporary use permits that have been considered a public hearing but have not yet received final approval should not be raised during this time. You should state your name and area of residence. We don't need your address. And you have 2 minutes after I say welcome. The floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Your Worship.
Typically, they introduce oneself, and then I say welcome to the chambers.
Okay. Mike Lewis, I live in Valemount,
Welcome.
most often at 1160 Fifth Avenue. Thank you very much, councillors, for the quick, and village staff for the quick processing and passing of this as we can hopefully get construction started here pretty quickly. It's a critical piece of 3 ranges moving forward and expanding our reach and getting out more about the word of Valemount and what we produce and what we have as a community outside of this town. And then secondly, to Councillor MacLean, I really like the non-cell service between Valemount and Jasper. Just FYI. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Any further comments this evening? You started a trend. Which we love.
Eugene Damon from Valemount.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, you can. One is for the Housing Committee. I believe the staff member is really in a quandary as to his status on that committee, and it really needs the definitions for him to be able to proceed. The other is, it's a question as to council members receive a stipend. How does that reflect in conflict of interest? Is there a special wording that happens there, or?
I guess the special wording would be under the oath of office we've all taken a public signature to. And then to your first comment, that would be a matter for staff, so we'll just leave that there. But yeah, we've all taken an oath of office. That would suggest that we don't take pecuniary interests. We don't have direct or indirect interests for that matter as well. And that's done at the inaugural meeting of our terms.
Okay. And could something like that happen for the Valemount Community Forest?
Unknown. Normally that's done with elected officials, not appointed board members.
And that was my public comments.
Thank you, sir. Pretty soon the Director of Finance is going to be getting up.
Hi, I'm Rashmi Narayan and I live in Valemount. And,
Welcome.
Thank you. So, I want to comment on a couple of things. Councillor Blanchette brought up strategic priorities, and on one hand, I'm disheartened that we have to go that route to have staff act on housing. I think it's already defined in the strategic priorities when we have age-friendly living. I think it's covered. I don't see geothermal specifically in the strategic priorities yet. There's so much work being put in by staff on that. So it's providing jobs in the area, and I see it gets covered under that. So why can't housing be under age-friendly living, and we have to go through this whole process to deal with something that's critical at this point for the community and that impacts, ensures services continue in our community. So that I'm confused about how staff and council decide to allocate resources to one but not the other, and especially when I see, I have been on the direct heat use committee, so I care about geothermal, for many reasons, alternative energy and being energy self-sufficient and all that. But at this point, I see it as housing being needs and needs and geothermal being wants, because one is more critical. So that's just something I put towards you. I don't understand priorities and how resources are allocated. Second thing with the geothermal grants, there's a part of me is unsure because a lot of it is being led by one private entity who can benefit. So again, village being the front for that, I'm not sure. I'm just putting it out there. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Any further comment, Michael? You're the only public left.
I'm good, thank you.
Motion to receive. Councillor G, Councillor MacLean. All in favor of receipt? It's carried. For the first time in a while, we do have a notice to proceed in camera. Recommendation here, the council proceed to an in-camera council meeting for the consideration of 3 items per section 91C of the Community Charter to discuss matters related to C, labor relations and other employee relations. Do we have any other fillers for that?
It's all labor relations.
Okay, thank you. Motion, please. Councillor G, Councillor Pearson, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you all.